Can brain science help boost your productivity and your income? Well, we're going to find out today thanks to my guest, Doug Bench, who is the brain training guy, and he is coming to us all the way from Central Florida. Doug, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. My privilege and honor.
So, Doug, you are known as the brain training guy. Why do you have that nickname?
Well, that's kind of an accident, actually. What happened was I retired from practicing law and being a judge up in a little closer to you, up in Ohio. Moved here to Florida and was teaching some seminars here. And my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This was about 11 years ago. And she eventually died from that tragic disease, which literally stole her soul. And frankly, that scared me very much. And so I didn't even know how to spell Alzheimer's 10 years ago. And so I wanted to find out everything I could about how to prevent that to happen to me. I was in my early 50s at the time.
Okay.
And the first book I got was a book called The Owner's Manual for the Brain.
Okay.
By Dr. Pierce Howard. I got that book because it was like the thickest one I could find. It was like 700 pages of information about the brain. But oh my goodness, what happened? The timing was exactly correct, and here's what I mean by that. When I got that book, it was late 1999, 10, 11 years ago. But it was written in 1993. And in that book, Dr. Howard kept saying, just wait until the new equipment comes online that the scientists are now developing, brain imaging equipment that will be available in 5 to 7 years, because then they will be able to find out tons of more information about how the human brain works. Well, he wrote those words in 1993. I was reading them in the year 99 and 2000, which meant, well, what he was talking about coming in 7 years was here when I started reading. So the more I read about how the brain works, the more I wanted to learn. Originally to alleviate my fears of Alzheimer's, but the more I read, the more I realized the scientists were really learning some cutting-edge information about how the brain works. And in all honesty, I started realizing that my brain was working better. The more I read about how the brain works, the better mine was working. And I said, whoa, there's something here. And my brain started bringing me money-making ideas for the internet, which started working. My seminar training business doubled, and then it doubled again. And my mentor in my speaking business says, Doug, you need to write a book on this. And I said, I can't write. I can't write at all. He says, look at you. You've got 700 pages of notes from everything you've read on how the brain works. You've got to write a book. I said, you didn't hear me. I cannot write. He said, but you talk. I mean, you were a lawyer. You got to be a good talker. I said, well, yeah, I can do that. So we started giving seminars on how people can improve the performance of their brain. And then the information from those seminars was recorded, transcribed, and plugged into my first 2 books. And turns out it's going to be about 6 books. But that's how the brain guy and the brain training guy started. And I'm now over 100,000 pages of brain research that I've read in the last 10, 11 years. And it's, I don't know if you can see it behind me there, but my shelves here in my office in my home, my office here is completely full of the books and studies and reports now, and we're going to either have to move or find some place or move the cars out of the garage because I need more places to keep it, because the things they're finding out about the brain are phenomenal, and this information isn't getting out because a lot of it is in language we don't understand as a lay person. I'm not a medical doctor. I've got a couple degrees in physiology from before I went to law school, which also piqued my interest in the brain. But I can't talk in those fancy medical terms. So I translate it all in the language I understand, and it's resonating with our students. And it's really a legacy to the memory of my mother that I want to get this information. I've taken on as a calling to get and a mission to get this information to many people as I can about how to improve the performance of their brain. It's just a matter of understanding better how your brain works. So that's what I'm all about. That's how I became the brain guy.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Doug, but you have just delivered a whole lot of information, and some of it is honestly mind-blowing. First off, 700 pages of notes. Ouch, your hand must be hurting. Then 100,000 pages read. Wow. You've been doing this for 10 to 15 years, and you said that as this basically really started because you were trying to understand how you can prevent Alzheimer's after seeing what it did to your mom. And as you were doing this research, your brain started working better. You started having money-making ideas. Basically, your business starting to grow, etc., etc. And I think a lot of people are listening to this, and it sounds amazing and incredible. But the great thing is that you are not a doctor. You're a normal, quote-unquote, person. So basically, the language that you use is going to be a language that most of us can understand, because honestly, some of those medical books are like, yikes. So it is amazing that our brain has that capacity. And I was wondering if you could break it down. I mean, you say that, you read all this information, and as you were reading, you were coming up with all these great ideas. But a lot of people could watch this and say, well, I read a lot of books all the time, and I'm not coming up with all these great ideas. My business hasn't doubled, each year. So if you could maybe relate a little bit more sort of what exactly allowed you to start coming up with all these brilliant ideas, that would be great.
Well, I'd be happy to. What we did, about 1998, when this new brain imaging equipment was being developed, one of the first discoveries that was made, that was reported, it was reported in 1999, but of course I didn't read it till about 2001. But the biggest discovery of all that the scientists made. Now, these are neuroscientists. Everything I've read has been written by neuroscientists. If it wasn't written by a neuroscientist, I didn't read it. If it was written by Dr. Phil or somebody like that, I didn't read it. I wanted empirical data about how the brain works. And Dr. Fred Gage and his team of research neuroscientists, brain scientists, in late 1998 made a tremendous discovery that had an impact on me that I think will have the same kind of impact on your subscribers and listeners. What they discovered was called neurogenesis. Neurogenesis. Neurogenesis? Yes. Okay. Neuro for
neural.
Okay. Genesis, birth.
Okay.
And in language, you and I can understand better, me especially, brain plasticity, which essentially says this, and they were able to see it with this new brain imaging scanner called a SPECT, S-P-E-C-T, imaging scope. SPECT, single photon emission computer enhanced tomography. I have no idea what I just said, but I know what it can do. What it can do is see a slice of a human brain while you're thinking, while you're breathing, if you will.
Wow.
150,000th the thickness of a human hair.
Oh.
You see, way back in the 60s, I'm going to date myself now, way back in the 60s when I was in graduate school, we looked at Albert Einstein's brain through an electron microscope. We had electron microscopes back in the 60s, 40, 50 years ago. But old Albert, wasn't doing much thinking then. He was gone.
He was kind of, dead.